Welcome, Marti Konstant. You are a friend of mine, and I'm so happy to have you on my little podcast.
I can't believe I'm here meeting with you, Jon-David. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
We were talking about this 2 years ago, and you have done so well because this book has actually changed my life. You opened agilecareer.com first. Is this true?
That's correct.
And this was a project. You called it the what type project?
It's the Agile Careerist project that I started about 4.5 years ago.
And I saw you two years ago, and you were probably on your way to this being a book.
I was in the middle of a research project when we talked at that cafe.
And we met through June Pickering, who owns Breakfast with Strangers, a group of Wednesday morning meeting people who they get up at 7:30, which I'm best friends with her, and I go, no, I can't do that. It's too early. And we talked about Agile Careers and why we had to be that. And I find myself an Agile Careerist naturally. Can you explain what an Agile Careerist is?
An Agile Careerist thinks about the world in a way that responds to change on a regular basis and optimizes his or her circumstances. And I like to frame it as creativity, growth, and happiness.
This is what I love about this book, because you're talking about career, you're talking about pain points in the book with great experiences. I want to bring out some of those. But you're asking yourself these questions about your career all the time. And what are those questions?
Am I happy? Is this what I'm good at? Would I be better off trying something else?
These are questions that run through the book constantly. And that's the heavy work. I would say that's the heavy work, that you're constantly not going to change. You're going to constantly ask those questions. Is that true?
That's right. One of the places I like to start is A/B testing your career.
All
Wouldn't
right.
it have been great when we were younger and thinking about what do I want to do for a living? Do I like job A versus job B? Do I like what Bob is doing versus what I'm doing? And to give yourself permission to explore that and not feel so stuck. Many people get degrees and they feel, well, if I don't have, a job that relates to what I studied for, then it's gone to waste. But that's not true. It's really about optimizing your strengths.
So let's say a person went through and they got their college degree, and parents paid a lot of money for this, wherever the money came from, didn't matter. But they put their time and investment into this, and they're just not happy with this. Did they waste their time, or do they use this information to move forward?
I'll give you an example. I knew a guy when he was in his 20s that was talking to me and said, I got this law degree, and here I am, 27 years old. I have not taken the bar, and I am miserable. I don't want to be a practicing lawyer. What he really wanted were two things. He loved teaching, and he loved science. He then went back to school and got trained as a biology teacher and has spent a number of years teaching and has been gloriously happy doing that.
So I love these stories, because I have the same story where I was doing something recently and I'm not happy. But right at that time I read your book, because synchronicity, the universe brought this book to me and you to me. And I look at my past and the things that I've done, not as a waste of time, but they have infused what I'm doing, if not even the discipline of it. So it's really helped me. This book really helped me to understand I'm a linear moving person moving forward in life, but I'm an agile thinker because I'm using what I've learned along the way.
That's correct. And one way to look about it is that we all have a portfolio that we're building. And so everything we do is an incremental build. And if you're not growing, you're not learning. This isn't a book for a rinse and repeat kind of person that is very happy doing one thing in only one thing. Although I would argue most people want to grow.
Yeah, growth is a big part of this book. That's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Are we growing? If we don't have these challenges, we become unhappy.
It's true. If we're not learning, there's a certain amount of unhappiness that happens because life becomes less interesting.
Yeah.
We all like to have days where we do the work that we don't have to think. We understand that, and that's a part of our lives too, and that can become a whole lot of fun, but not every single day.
No. I have an ex who IT, and he gets these great paying jobs, and he's great at what he does, but he phones it in. And he's just he goes, I just have to get another job. And he keeps on looking for another job. And they go, well, we'll give you this much money. And then he's just like, I'm not happy. So what would you say to somebody like that who, we want to give him agile thinking as a base? Like he could keep the job, I suppose, and do something on the side, which you talk about in this book as well.
Right. Well, I would say that when part of the structure of creativity, growth, and happiness is out of whack, it's going to lead to more unhappiness. And it's going to lead to boredom, which is almost worse than unhappiness.
Terrible.
Right. And
creative growth and happiness.
Right.
So important.
Right. And one of the things I talk about as I interviewed these people is there are times in our life when it's necessary to make a decision to do what needs to be done. You may need to get a child through college, and the job you have is just painful, or you have a terrible boss, or you can see that you're going to be downsized within a year. Sometimes it's important to hold on to that and to start thinking about things that you could do on the side. It might not even be a job or a side gig. It might be taking a course in an area that you've never taken before, just to get your brain out of the ritual that you're in.
You said in this book, I loved how you used it, be an action figure. And I think I love that term.
Yes.
And I loved that part of being an action figure can be little steps, and like creating an idea zone. That is a positive thing that an action figure would do. Explain that.
Well, an idea zone came out of this concept of, I first called it the buffer zone. When we think about computers, the buffer is where things are happening and they're waiting to go to the next phase.
Okay.
And the other analogy before the buffer zone was the backlog of ideas that engineers and software developers have when they are creating a product. There might be 100 good ideas to build into that software build, but they only have the time and money and economics for 20 of those ideas. What do you do with those 80 other ideas? You park them. Some of them you jettison off because they're not applicable in another few months. But if you didn't
write them down, you didn't even know to jettison them off, as you say.
Right. And those kinds of things, too, when you're thinking about ideas, the idea zone is what keeps you happy on your very worst work days. Imagine if you're just having one of those days that is just so horrible, yet for 20 minutes at lunchtime or other, you open up the book or look at your computer or some of your ideas, and it immediately takes you to another place and gets you excited about the beyond the bad day. It's a strategy for getting through those tough days.
And also for if you're a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, if you're post-it noting your notes and putting it in files and computer files or whatever, you're adding these thoughts to your future. You're allowing those thoughts to ruminate in your subconscious or your higher power, whatever, to be blossomed or birthed later. It's a brilliant thing, and we tell people to do this all the time. We tell ourselves to do it, but just taking those few minutes or hours or to nurture those ideas of the future by just getting them out of your brain onto paper.
James Altucher does a really great thing with this creation of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
He is a very widely read serial entrepreneur. He's doing things in blockchain now. He's just doing all kinds of things. He has successes, he has failures. And one of the things he says is to come up with 25 ideas every time you are thinking about ideas and put them down. He really believes that that is what is necessary to keep your brain active and interested in what your future is going to be like.
Great point. And you have a quote in your book. Somehow I always thought of my career as a series of projects, not jobs. That's a quote by Seth Godin, who nobody knows, right? Who knows? No, everybody knows Seth Godin.
Not every business person knows Seth Godin, but
Really?
I would argue that a lot of people do. My husband's in financial services. He does not know who Seth Godin is.
Oh,
So there are people that work in law and finance that don't know who Seth Godin is.
Well, if you don't know who Seth Godin is, he has his own podcast on iTunes. He's an author, he's an entrepreneur, he's a marketer, he's got products and workshops, and he's amazing. And he's the epitome of an agile thinker. His career, my career is, because I've been an agile thinker, it changes. And yet you're using what you've learned along the way to empower what you're doing in the moment. So in these principles, and by the way, I should mention, can you tell me what the Career Agility Guide is, and then where you can get it? Because everything that we're talking about is there at agilecareer.com. And I think it's important that people get this Career Agility Guide. Tell me about it.
Right. So
please.
the guide is a summary of what's in the book. It defines the 7 principles with just a few words, a couple examples, and the models. There's 15 models, illustrative models that are put in the book, and many of them are in this guide. It's a 22-page guide that if you only have 30 minutes to check this out or 20 minutes to check this out, you can download the guide from the website.
It's a great guide, but I think, like Seth Godin's career, he would say, I've checked off every principle in there and learned how to do that instinctually or because he's an agile thinker.
Right.
An agile thinker, agility came from where?
Where I learned about it, I've been a marketing technologist for a number of years and a chief marketer, and I worked side by side with engineers a good portion of my career. And they applied agile methods to software development. If you think about many years ago, software releases were big things that would take a year or two to release. And now you think about how software is released to the market, it's incremental builds, it's frequent updates, they learn something, they make the product better, they go to their backlog of ideas, they integrate a few more features and make the product better. That's where the agile thinking inspired me. And in 2012, I joined a group of global marketers in San Francisco, and we developed a set of agile principles for the marketing profession. We called it Agile Marketing. We called the event was Sprint Zero in 2012 at MindJet headquarters. And it was during 2012 I thought, wow, if we can make marketing better and iterative and more collaborative, versus the Mad Men days when you'd go back to your closet and come up with a creative idea and surprise the client and you had a 50-50 shot of it being accurate, the idea of applying Agile to marketing would make it more collaborative and more successful because everybody's been involved every step of the way. So that's where the agility intrigue came for me before I thought about how it could apply to a career, a life, parenting. It really has extended to a lot of different things, but we are focusing on the career part of it.
Yeah, I love that the origins came from tech, business, moved into marketing, moved into financial. And I believe if you're a family person, it can move into that environment as well, because we're not just being reactionary. We're not just going, oh, the world is this and that's just the way it is. It's no, you're taking all the information and making great data and going back to, am I happy? Is this creative? Am I growing? Is super important. And an agile thinker, an agile careerist, this really goes back to working with other people. A squad, as you call it, activating a squad, not just masterminding, not just information back and forth, but you really use this one of your principles is really working with other people. True?
True. The famous phrase is no one can do it alone. Mm-hmm. If you try to do something alone, you'll get stuck pretty quickly. And the idea of building something happens with the interaction of other people and ideas. And the concept behind the activate your feedback squad is, some people say to me or to others, I wish I had the perfect mentor, or I wish someone could coach me. But when you think about it, we have it inside us to build that squad. Whether you align with a reverse mentoring situation of a person that's younger than you that knows something about technology that you can offer and exchange information, or whether you do seek out someone that's older and wiser and has walked a path before. But there's also other things. There's Facebook groups. There's places where it's an open source environment where you can say, this is my idea. What do you guys think? And you can get ideas. You can get feedback from all different types of people.
Which, for me, I would add to that and say, yes, people, get off the damn social media. I'm a social media expert, and this, being an agile careerist or an agile thinker, allows you to use the internet, use social media for a specific grounded purpose: your life, your happiness, your creativity, your growth and expansion, and to connect with other people in that realm, not just scroll, which I think that is one of the pain points I would like to address. Is people feel overwhelmed. People feel it's too much. Like their business might need social media, or their business might need venture capitalists or capital. It's just too much. It's too much. You offer a template in this book that breaks things down.
Breaks things down into smaller projects. It gets back to the series of projects thing. If you get into a big job and you think about it as the long haul, it's daunting, it's overwhelming.
Crazy, too much. I'm imploding now, yes.
Right. Yet, if you can break it down into phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and figure out, okay, I'm going to finish this, I'm going to tweak the process a little bit, I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to go on to the next portion of it. And that's where series of projects becomes interesting, because aren't you engaged more when you're involved in a project? You're launching a project. It's something new. You're highly engaged. You're starting a new job. You're highly engaged at the beginning of something. Wouldn't it be great to break things down into smaller projects so that the engagement becomes more like a wave, the surfer that continues to surf that wave, instead of this ending? You're actually escalating your engagement.
I hope everyone who's listening understands that this isn't just like, oh, this is my life, this is my career, I have to read this book. This is about happiness. You're going to be happier being challenged. You're going to be happier looking at these pieces of your life. This book is really about happiness. I truly believe that.
It's really refreshing to hear that from a reader. Yeah. Because that was, when you think of things in threes, which are a good thing to do when you're building something, is that third piece was a big deal for me. Whether it be joy or happiness, they're very related. That was critical for me, because we hear that all the time. The vast majority of people are unhappy with where they're at right now.
And they're fearful because there's no such thing as a linear job that you're just going to retire on, where you stick with one job. It doesn't work. Companies get bought out. And you had a quote in here about the Fortune 500 businesses. They used to last 75 years, and now it's 15. Is that what it was?
Yes.
So that's scary, right? So you're going to work for this big company and you're going to retire. It's going to be big money.
Right.
That's kind of nothing to worry about now, right? Because it doesn't exist.
Right. I mean, we think of Google and Amazon. Surely they're going to be here forever, right?
No.
That's not what we necessarily have seen with some of these big companies.
No.
Chances are they're going to be around for a long time.
Right.
But probably not forever, because
Right.
something else is going to come out that will evolve and replace the concept.
Yes. So I invite anybody to go to agilecareer.com. Definitely get the Career Agility Guide. If that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what will. Maybe you just might be a stupid person. I don't know. You just want to stay the same way. You're scared or fearful. But you need to check it out, because I think it will inspire you. Marti, where can we get a hold of you?
At agilecareer.com.
Check her out, agilecareer.com. And you're in the midst of workshops. You're in the midst of touring and training and speaking all over. I'm so thankful that you took the time to spend time with me in person. This is even better than doing this over Skype, which I normally work on.
This was great to do something in person. To do a podcast in person is lovely. It's rare.
It is rare. And we got some videos,
Yeah.
so that'll be fun. So hopefully we can use that. And definitely read this book, people, because I love this book. It did change my life, as I told Marti before the podcast. It changed the way I do things, and I think this podcast and me developing courses for other people that do great things. I don't like doing it myself, and that's one of the things I learned. I go, I'm not liking this. I like working collaborative with people. That was something. Do I want to be an owner or be a boss? No, I want to work with somebody. It doesn't matter where you call me the boss or you the boss. It doesn't matter. That I got from this book. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
All right. So let's wrap it up, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks so much.